this hard-hitting Irish brother, spent time in the can, like all these little details started to fall out. But really, I got to tell you, the Tychus character was interesting and structurally necessary, but it wasn't until we got into that studio and Neil Kaplan kind of hit the voice out of nowhere, right? And he just starts going. Yeah, I'm like, holy cow, how is that sound coming out of that man? And like immediately, Tychus just took over. I mean, he was a totally secondary, afterthought character. But once Neil started saying his lines, he was like by far the funnest character to write. Like he just took over us as we were writing the game because it was just so, you could just hear it in every line.
Oh, so fun to write for.
Yeah, totally.
I lost 9 years in prison on account of you.
Jimmy.
Well, thank you very much for putting so much into this story. And Tychus is not dead or have tentacles. Raider just winged him a little.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
Flesh wound.
Flesh wound.
Hi. I want to start off, saying I love StarCraft 2. I love the StarCraft and the Warcraft universes. They're my two favorite universes I've played since I was a kid. And with that, my question involves both games. StarCraft 1 was a really gritty, dark game where bad stuff happened, and it happened, and that was just how it went. And then Warcraft comes along, and it's more fantasy. There's more like the paragon of good and evil. And then I was just wondering if you guys noticed the really close draw between StarCraft 2 and World of Warcraft, where Kerrigan kind of became Thrall. She was this evil person, and then she just suddenly became possibly a very good character, even if she didn't know it. And then you have the Zerg kind of just got the Orc complex, where they were bloodthirsty, and then, well, maybe they were just corrupted. You don't know. And so I'm just wondering, like, are you guys going to bring StarCraft back to that universe where it's really gritty and there's actually punishment for being evil instead of just suddenly being good, and there's consequences to the really good people without them suddenly becoming really evil?
No, we're just going to do exactly what Warcraft did, So that's a complicated question. To answer it in truth will give too much away. Keep in mind, Heart of the Swarm is about what this girl is about. And by extension, what are the Zerg about? Because it runs a lot deeper than what you've seen so far. That being said, and as a direct answer to your question, it's highly unlikely we're going to make a decision to suddenly transform the Zerg into this lawful, good, heroic. The Zerg are the Zerg. No matter what, they are terrifying, they are violent, they are animals. That will not change. That being said, all sorts of things can change. But again, we are currently working on all that stuff and still feeling out the storyline and what we want to do with the Zerg. But the scary component cannot be compromised. Relative to the Warcraft thing, I guess sometimes racial concepts, there are thresholds, right? Did we break orcs in pop culture, kind of making them a little more noble? Not sure what the threshold is, but the threshold for this Zerg concept is definitely a lot clearer, right? When are Zerg not Zerg? Well, when they're not scary, when they're not animals. So,
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's safe to say on that topic, on the StarCraft part of your question, that I've actually been really surprised that people have been jumping to this conclusion that we were saying that the Zerg were, just misunderstood, right, and would turn out to be these great noble beings. I can understand that there's some fear in the community that might be the case, pretty soon you'll see Zerg, you know, weaving baskets and carrying flowers around. That's not going to happen. The Zerg, as Chris said, are absolutely the worst thing that can happen to your day. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in their backstory. It's complicated. It will all be revealed, but have no fear that they will turn out to be misunderstood. And as to the Kerrigan part, I also,
right.
I mean, I really think that I see the parallel that you're kind of talking about, but I don't really think it applies because Thrall was a character who underwent, you know, sort of an enlightenment and sort of understood his place in the world better. Kerrigan, well, the Queen of Blades was an evil, terrifying creature. Sarah Kerrigan was not. I mean, Sarah Kerrigan is scary. She's an assassin, right? But I don't see it as one character that's just kind of, you know, becoming nicer.
And even on that point, you had some really good parts of your question, specifically to the, is justice possible, right? Justice, or what we would presume justice is for her, and a potential redemption, right? Are you neutering a gritty universe, right, and trying to overtly chase a redemption story? It's a really good point, and it's a really good question. How the hell do I answer it without giving away where we're going?
Trust us.
It is a gritty universe, and on long enough timeline, there's so much more going on behind the curtain. It's like Wings of Liberty, like it barely scratches like the truth, you know, of kind of what's occurring. So you talk about justice for her. I don't know. It's exactly what we're chasing, you know, in terms of the Heart of the Swarm storyline. So be patient with us. Hopefully, we will answer all of this directly through the gameplay or through the storyline.
Yeah, I think bad things happen to bad people in StarCraft, but bad things happen to good people too.
Right.
So
seemingly more often. You know?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Things just to be more real and
right.
gritty, where bad things
right.
just corrupt bad people or good people even too.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey guys, pleasure to be here. Okay, Star Wars. Chris, you were talking about what makes a geek. Brought up Star Wars. A lot of people say that Star Wars is essentially a Western in a sci-fi universe, very much the same way as StarCraft. Consider Tychus Finley. I can't help but every time I see Tychus Finley in one of the cutscenes and the dialogue, I think of Vin Diesel in Pitch Black. Just a gritty anti-hero. Same with Jim Raynor. You mentioned earlier about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I understand the creative process. You talked about it earlier on how Tychus's character was made. I'm curious more about the outside influences that came in.
Oh, well, clearly we just sat down with the Firefly box set and, you know, just took copious notes. The whole Western / Southern thematic woven through StarCraft was totally there in the first one that came out long before Firefly. Unfortunately, it kind of bent a little more towards the comical, like, I love you, Sarge, you know, all that stuff. But definitely in the concept art we were doing at the time, it was something that I really wanted to have in the foreground. And at the time, you know, we were a little split on how far to chase that kind of Western / Southern theme. So this time around, yeah, there was no dissension. You know, we just wanted to embrace it fully. If I could have put a cowboy hat on Raynor in every scene, I would have done so, right? That's who that guy is. But, you know, it's funny, when we first started, this is maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago, can't tell time anymore at all. When we first started talking about StarCraft 2, like, guys, we should start seriously thinking about developing this product after all these years. The first image in my head was this guy sitting in a bar with a bottle of whiskey and a cowboy hat on his head, fretting over a girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's just innately Western. You know, it's just in its DNA, I guess. I don't know if that answered your question or not, brother.
No, it was perfect, because I was thinking of Firefly as well, so hopefully we get to see a StarCraft movie sometime.
Right. You know I was kidding about watching the Firefly box set, right? As a matter of fact, I stayed away from that damn thing because I knew it was going to get us in trouble.
Well, let's hope for a second season, at least.
Huh? He's doing a second season?
I said let's hope for one.
Oh, yeah, that would be epic.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hey guys, again, great game, fantastic. I wanted to ask about, you were mentioning the next book is going to continue to explore the Tychus and Raynor relationship, but one of my favorite secondary characters, of course, is Matt Horner, and his sort of noble, he's kind of the heart and soul of the idealistic crusader.
Right.
And I'm wondering, first of all, because I love the secondary character of Mira Han, are we ever going to get to hear about that story? And second of all, are we ever going to get some stories about Raynor and Horner's adventures that we didn't really see because Tychus was kind of taken over?
Right.
I would so love to explore the Mira Han, Matt Horner situation.
How ironic.
Absolutely, Matthew. So yeah, I mean, you know, right now our focus is all on the expansion. You know, or I should say mine is. I know that you're involved with pretty much everything.
Wow.
But that is, I think, a very rich vein that we would definitely like to explore.
Totally.
Hello? In Wings of Liberty, you had Raynor go around the Hyperion. He was able to talk to all the other characters. He was able to flesh out his universe. Now, I'm assuming you're using the same play style. So in Legacy of the Void, you'll have Zeratul. He'll be talking to all these Protoss characters in order to enhance that. But with Kerrigan and Heart of the Swarm, who does she talk to? Is there going to be infested Terrans? Are the Queens sentient? What's going to be there to make her story more interesting?
That is an excellent question, which I really can't answer. I'm sorry. Did you have any Wings of Liberty questions?
Okay. A small one. In choosing to save the colonists, Raynor is forced to fight against Selendis. How do you explain Raynor's